This is Jake Lawrence, and you're listening to the Jake Lawrence Podcast, an online weekly radio show dedicated to Chicago industry, technology, and thought leadership. Today's guest is Erik Engel. He's the coordinator for a homeless shelter in Itasca, Illinois, amongst many other career things, and he has just been a delight to listen to talk to get to know better. He has a lot of interesting perspectives on technology, spirituality, and much more. So I hope you enjoy Erik as much as I did. We're sponsored today by Corporate Suites Network, csnhousing.com, your premier Chicago short-term rentals and corporate housing providers. For all things to do with monthly apartment rentals, furnished apartments, contact Corporate Suites Network at csnhousing.com. All right, now here's the podcast. Hey everyone, this is Jake from the Jake Lawrence Podcast. Today I have Erik Engel. Hello, Erik.
Hey, Jake.
Erik is just like you said right before we started recording, he is a doer. And I was impressed by him. I actually went to the Itasca DuPage Pads homeless shelter for an overnighter, and I really got to talk a lot to Erik, and I found out a lot of really interesting and cool things about him. And that's exactly why I want you on the podcast today, to kind of talk about what you do, what motivates you, and where your passion comes from.
So I guess probably my best intro is kind of the message people get when they call my phone number, which is also on our Itasca Cares website. It's the main number. And when people call that, it says, "I've reached Erik Engel, licensed clinical social worker and co-founder of the Itasca Community Outreach Team."
That kind of sums it up.
Yeah. It's probably what I do in the world that overlaps with what I understand the podcast is kind of about.
Yeah, and I guess the next question people would have is, what is the Itasca Cares Outreach Team?
Well, it's actually the Itasca Community Outreach Team.
My bad.
The website is Itasca Cares.
Got it. That's itascacares.org, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. We kind of went back and forth, but anyway, itascacares.org is the umbrella and the website of Itasca Community Outreach Team. It is the Itasca DuPage Pads Shelter, or we just kind of at the website call it Itasca Shelter, because as I'll talk about, some of the things on the website, are not necessarily DuPage Pads, whatever. Clear all that. So we keep the DuPage Pads out of it. But it is a DuPage Pads site. The other two are the Itasca Walk-In Ministry and then the Itasca Food Pantry.
Now, this is a 501c3. It's called ICOT. It's the Itasca Community Outreach Team, and that's the 501c3?
Actually, they're all separate.
They're all separate, okay.
The shelter is a 501c3 through DuPage Pads, but also it's at a physical church that is a 501c3. Like the site is there, although different groups come in once a week to cover it. The food pantry is a 501c3. Walk-in Ministry, I believe, recently got its status, and ICOT, or Itasca Community Outreach Team, is still in the application process.
Okay, so it's still in the application process. Got it. So there's a lot of overlapping nonprofits kind of competing in the same space. And I don't think it's competing, it's collaborating in the same space. Right. So competition has its own kind of, challenges, but I think collaboration also has its own challenges. So when you're collaborating within this multifaceted, multi-nonprofit space, has there been any challenges in the last couple of years? And
well, the way we got around all of that is we call it the continuum of care. We got the four pieces of pie, and we kind of felt like Itasca Community Outreach Team was that missing piece of pie. So the beauty of this is I do the shelter. Megan Sheridan does the food pantry and is on the board of the Walk-In Ministry. Ellen Glatz, she volunteers as a key person for all four. So we created Itasca Community Outreach Team. So there's not a ton of conflict because we're able to work it out and kind of shift it like, oh, this is more of a walk-in ministry deal. Oh, maybe we could just, we use food pantry. Maybe we can use a couple of the things. But the Itasca Community Outreach Team premise is, we came up with the tagline, lending a local hand Cool little logos. My daughter's hand in my hand.
That's awesome.
You know, that's her. But, and then it got all cooled up by Kat Sonorio Okada, who does our website.
Okay.
And then, I haven't said this yet, but like one of the many God things for us, we see it as, God just keeps having the right people show up at the right time so we can do this. And so, we kind of honor him and are obedient to him in what we understand we're supposed to do with this thing. And that is, kind of our first person we worked with was a woman who was a recent widow, orphaned child, and was about to lose her home. Got a textbook biblical stuff,
Yeah.
Kind of made it easy for us to know, we do need to do this.
What year did you really get involved in all this? Have you been an Itasca resident your entire life, or?
No. Grew up in Woodridge, southwest suburb of Chicago.
Yeah.
Grew up, did some stuff, was in the military a little bit, lived in Chicago proper for a while, then came back out to the suburbs, raised my kids. My wife was already working in Itasca.
Oh, I see.
Itasca school system. That's why she said, we got to figure out how to live in Itasca. So we've been here as long as we've been married. 15 years exactly, I think.
Yeah.
So
there was no pause there, by the way. No pause at all.
Not a calculator. But yeah, so I'm kind of thinking, what was the origination of this question?
So you've been here in Itasca since like 2002 or something like that?
So it was
Yeah.
So just like anybody else, Christian or not, but for me, part of it was being a Christian, but being a Itasca resident, I'm like, I should be giving back. I should be involved in the community. I'm a school social worker and a licensed clinical social worker by trade. So, I'm in a helping profession, but you got to be involved in your community. That's just kind of a kind of a thing, whether you don't have to be older to wake up to, but it took me longer, I guess, to wake up to it. So, like a lot of people, I said, hey, if there was just a homeless shelter, just a little closer, because I'm a busy guy, turns out it's a block and a half from my house. Busted on that one. But my wife at the time was working at Peacock Middle School. She knew there were kids going down there volunteering to set up the pads, the beds on the floor. And so I wandered in there, all cocky style. I'm a social worker. I have a lot of experiences.
I've seen it all. Yeah.
What can I do to help these poor people?
Right.
And they're like, well, we need somebody to, put sheets on the pads in the back there. So I started out with a, hugely humbling experience, but, it was a great humbling experience. So I just started showing up and volunteering wherever they would use me.
This was like right when you started in Itasca 15 years ago, or?
More like 10 years ago.
10 years ago, you started really getting your feet wet in the whole system.
Yeah. This local system.
Yeah.
So then it kind of grew from there. DuPage Pads started this Artworks program. So it was artists going into the different DuPage Pad sites and just kind of bringing some art supplies and maybe directives, maybe some suggested, whatever media, and just to take people's minds off of, being in this homeless situation, give them a break. And it sounded cool to me. My bachelor's is in fine arts and drawing. Then I became an art therapist. And so, that was kind of my core background. And so I was super excited about that.
So, at what point did you or did someone be like, Erik Engel should definitely be the executive director of ITOT? What happened with that?
Yeah, that was a couple years in the making. So I just kept coming back. I started coming back to the Itasca shelter to volunteer that way with the art program, as well as doing the sheets and all the other stuff. And then person who had, I think it was like 17 years, this lady named Eve, was the coordinator for that site. And she was leaving, want to retire or something. And I was that guy that was there every week. I got to know a lot of the guests there. I've been doing art with them, but I've been, making their beds and having conversations. So anyway, Ellen Glatz, later became one of the co-founders. She just emailed me. And it was interesting because in my faith journey, I was, praying to God about it. It's like, so what do you want me to do? Is this what you want me to do? Because it's always this humbling experience. Like, I just want me to do art with people in the hallway. Okay, I need to pray for some humility here so I can just do what you want me to do. And then I get the email. I call it from God, but it was technically from Ellen. And then I said, yeah, I'll do that. So then fast forward to, I don't know, about 4 years ago now or something. And what really kind of prompted it was she was really seeing the other side of things, the food pantry people that had a home, but just occasionally needed some help. And I was just seeing, the homeless people that really were staying homeless, like sadly, I mean, I've known some of these people for as long as I've been doing it. It's supposed to be short term.
Right.
Like on paper, if you think about it, I mean, it's hard to conceptualize, but let's say everything fell through you or I, we end up in a homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm.
The design is, if you can get some kind of work, and you don't got to pay for a place to stay, you don't got to pay for any meals, and you're just working, you should be able to stockpile the money. Right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
if you can be somewhat disciplined. So in about 3 months, you got some dough, and then you can go and get an apartment.
How often does that 3-month projection actually pan out for people?
So we got motivated, though, to still, like, how do we, and Al and I kind of called it, well, we literally called it Ending Homelessness for One. That was kind of the first look of Itasca Community.
It's called Ending Homelessness for One?
Yeah, so because we got this idea of like, well, we can't do these necessarily systemic changes from Itasca, for us.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we got some funds, some of the multiple alcoholic beverage, events that go on in this town where there's a tip jar, people kind of get more and more generous as the night wears on.
Right.
There's a decent tip jar there.
Yeah.
And that money's kind of like, goes whoever asks for it really in town. And I found out over time. So anyway, we started this fund that we asked if we could have it for that. Here's the funny thing that happened though, is when we targeted the homeless population, we found that the people we thought, okay, this is somebody that, and this gets tough wording, but that you could invest in because it would be a good investment. And I hate to say it this way, but it's like you're not throwing your money away. Like a person who's still just not self-disciplined enough to have a few $100 and not blow it.
Yeah.
They're going to use that few $100. But we're ever looking at handing over some cash to somebody. We were looking at like, how could we help somebody by, paying for first month's rent or something like that. Because they're just short on that. Like they have a steady income, but they just can't quite, make that amount for whatever reason. So the ironic thing we found was that the people that were in that place, that were most likely able to do it, they wouldn't accept our help. It was part of the whole deal for them. They said, like, every time I accept help, I blow it, And
wow.
So they kind of knew that it triggered an entitlement thing in them. And that's when we got a sense of this entitlement versus empowerment piece. It was so key.
Yeah.
So then when we go to our next rung, well, our next rung was a distant second. And it was a huge risk of a person. And a person who'd been in and out of the shelters. And they have their job and they lose their job. And sometimes they get a paycheck and go blow it on 6 days of hotel living, But I mean, I'm not judging or blaming. I don't know what I would do, if I had lived in the shelter,
I would definitely blow all of my money.
Yeah, me too. In fact, I might blow it in like one really good hotel.
One night at the Sheraton.
Yeah, just really live it up. So what we realized is this Ending Homelessness for One premise is not quite the right model in terms of, it's a continuum and the worst place to be is homeless and the best place to be is with a home and just needing some help.
Yeah.
We saw where the gap was, so we said, what if we start on the other end and see the people that maybe are just starting to use a food pantry and that's how, we stumbled onto this woman in town who was, she just kind of wandered into the food pantry for the first time. People started saying, oh, who's she, but then quickly, and right around that time was when we were starting this concept of the Itasca Community Outreach Team. We're looking for kind of the right person, right family. We mentioned her name and police, fire, everybody knew that 2 years earlier, her husband had been killed in a car accident.
Oh, wow.
And it was really sudden. It was pretty young, in the 30s. Their daughter at the time was 4. And, super nice guy, used to help other people. Their house was a little run down. And it's kind of a really cool story because, so as we were starting this thing, and all of a sudden we have somebody potentially, and we started to then connect pastors because, we kind of, so Christians, the original model, our understanding is the local church used to do a ton for the poor, in the community.
Sure.
Like, it didn't necessarily have to start there or be the only place there. And even the history in Itasca used to be churches at the village kind of having meetings together. I don't know what happened to that, I think technology happened to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Technology on the bus. But I don't know what happened, but something happened.
Well, I mean, nonprofits happened in the last 100 years in a really big way. So nonprofits started to replace the completely faith-based institutions by kind of competing with their health and services programs. And so we saw a lot of nonprofits crowding out the types of services that churches and faith-based institutions historically have been kind of the community anchor of.
So. And I'll throw my faith under the bus a little bit here, my faith group, because I think we kind of dropped the ball a little bit, because there's never been anything doctrinal that changed that said, okay, shift away from the poor. No, just, they were supposed to continually be involved by people of the church. So I think that's also, more, societal morals in terms of the church.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's probably not just like one answer. It's probably not just nonprofits. It's probably nonprofits, technology, societal changes.
Yeah. And then the nonprofit that kind of turned into a system, a state-based, and I don't know. Whatever the reason is, it's as a practicing Christian, I know that what I'm supposed to do. I have an understanding of what I think the local church is supposed to do to come alongside us come alongside them. So we knew we wanted to engage that crowd because it's also that, we happen to live in a town here that's got a ton of churches.
Yep.
We're not that big, and we're crowded with churches. And so, and at that time, I had already established some relationships with some of the existing pastors, some of the newer pastors, because I had been meeting with them in terms of volunteering at PADS and saying, hey, it's a great opportunity, for small group to come in and do something here, whether it was faith-based, whether it was,
secular.
just hanging out with people. Because I heard of somebody that the way they volunteer at PADS is just going to talk to people. I'm like, yeah. And I think the saddest thing I hear from the guests there is, they'll go through a whole day with not having had a conversation with anybody because people avoid them like modern day lepers.
That's a great point. And I kind of want to talk about the experience of first timers, first volunteers at DuPage PADS, because it is really a humbling experience. And you went through the same process too.
Yeah.
I went through the same process. And I've known about homelessness. I've known about homeless people. And we've always had them in Crystal Lake, my hometown. And a lot of times we would be going through Lippold Park and we'd run into like a little tent with, someone living there. And it was scary, as a kid. Yeah. Right. So you kind of bring all these perceptions into your adult life without really knowing the finer details of homelessness. And so anyways, the first time I went was a couple months ago, and I was there from about 5:30 to about 5:30 at night to about 6:30 in the morning, more or less. And I had to serve dinner to the homeless. I had to serve breakfast, make lunches for them. And it was with a group of people, so it was kind of like a team building exercise as well. And after you serve dinner, you're kind of encouraged to go out into the little makeshift cafeteria and really start talking with these people. Yeah. And instantly you start to recognize that, oh my God, these are just real people. They're just like you and me, just like some crazy things happen to them. Some one or two really horrible things happen in their lives, and it propelled them to this path. And whether or not it's just one or two, it could have been three or four, but then those things combined with mental illness, maybe behavioral problems, start to also kind of come into play. And I guess the biggest thing was I thought I was going to walk into that room and people were going to be like, it was, I hate to say it, but I thought it was going to be like a mental hospital. I thought people were going to be babbling. People were like totally normal. Yeah. I had like perfectly normal conversations with people. And the
way you're talking is like I picture like a zombie scene in a movie.
Yeah.
People just started taking bites out of you.
Right. And I talked to one guy and he like knew about like art history and like philosophy. Yeah. And I'm like, geez, dude, you had an entire life before this. So I'm babbling and I'm rambling on right now, but the point was homelessness doesn't define you. You know, it doesn't define who you are morally, spiritually, as a human being. So that was a major perspective change on my part. So I guess I just want to encourage anyone who's listening to kind of take a chance and go out of your comfort zone and really try to experience that firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate hearing that because, you know, that's been my huge push, is to get people to have the human experience of, you know, relationally interacting. And I like the way your group did it because at first I thought, wow, these guys are really like going to the extreme. I mean, you guys were planning months ahead. You know, other groups are just like, hey, come in a week. And, you know, I don't know, maybe they've done it before. Maybe they don't know what they're getting into. Or maybe there have been groups that are in, you know, kind of almost drop the food and run kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But, you know, that you were interested in the full experience of it. And, you know, this is where it gets hard, having done this for years. Like, there's a huge awesomeness to it, but, you know, the tough part is like I've become kind of a little bitter, and my bitterness is that I think some people come there for weird personal reasons to feel better about themselves, and it's not. Really,
you're bitter about the volunteers, you mean?
Yeah. I'm bitter because, like, I get a ton of volunteers around the holidays that want to, you know, dole out soup at the soup kitchen.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe get a few pictures for their Christmas card for next year.
Mm-hmm.
But if all I have is the 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. shift I got to fill, you know, most people aren't interested.
Right.
The funny story is, so I listened to Moody Radio in the morning, and they were talking about volunteering over the holidays, and I was like, it just like hit me. And
what is it? You want them to say volunteer at all times throughout the year?
I don't know. I'm sounding petty, and I was really working on this, you know, this is my thing for lunch. You know? But so I called into the show, and I took some deep breaths, you know, and I said, I coordinate a shelter. Obviously, you know, it runs on volunteers, so, you know, I can't be too choosy. But what's tough is, and this is a, you know, Christian radio show, so I'm kind of directing this at Christians, at least. Mm-hmm. And that is, you know, if you're really looking to serve others in the way they need, you know, what help they need, what the site needs, then my hope is you're open to other possibilities other than just serving the meal. And it maybe there's an innocence quality to it, like, oh, I didn't know there was other parts to it. You know, I thought that was somehow covered or paid for with taxes or whatever people think. But, you know, when they hear it's 100% donations and 100% volunteer, if they want to hear my whole spiel, you know. So anyway, I just said, you know, call the local shelter and offer to do the laundry, offer to do the late shift. Because there are people that, you know, they work overnights and like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. That'd be cool. That'd be easy for me. I'm always up anyway.
Yeah, probably not a lot of people know that there's a 2 a.m. to. Did you say 2 a.m. to 5?
Yeah, well, I mean, you divide up however.
Right.
Like, we did the whole night, but normally it's in chunks. But the cool thing was, again, I would call it a God thing. Call it whatever you want. So about 1:30 that afternoon, this was about 7 in the morning, about 1:30 that afternoon, this guy calls me, and he's like, hey, I heard you on Moody this morning. Really? You know, how'd you get my number? You know, he did some research because he happened to be in a place where he had a debilitating condition that didn't really allow him to do much. But he was a Christian guy trying to figure out how he could serve. And when he heard me, he thought, perfect, I could pick up laundry. And since I have a whole week to get it done, I could slowly do it, you know, in my times when I can function and times when I can't, you know, I can let it dry and fold it. And so this guy now comes by and he picks up laundry and he does it on certain shifts when I need it done. And since then, you know, we've had a couple of breakfasts and had some amazing conversations. So it's really
very cool
way to meet somebody. And again, like, I know I sound judgmental because I am, but that, you know, like, I wish there was more people that were willing to do anything that needed to be done. And I'm saying this probably, I'm not willing to do everything and anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're saying volunteering itself raises your endorphins, raises the dopamine factor, right? And it makes you feel good. It just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And so there's a tendency for people to kind of to peacock to other people, like on Facebook. So like, hey, I'm doing a great thing, volunteering at this like homeless shelter. Look at me, everybody. And then all their friends and family on Facebook's like, wow, Jake's such a good guy. He did it overnight at the homeless shelter. What a great guy. But so there's definitely ego involved in the motivation to actually do good things, right? So we're trying to detach true altruism with like ego motivated altruism.
Yeah.
And that's not something that you get to be choosy about, unfortunately.
Yeah. And actually, I guess I sort of don't care that much about that as long as people are willing to do everything, like the hard stuff too.
Yeah.
Like when you, even if you just look at it as like, okay, you're paying out of your pocket to get buy the food, make the food, and serve it. Well, and as you discover, you got to take out the garbage during the night. You can use the dishes as opposed to paper. You got to be washing it and dry it and put it away. It's like
it's difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult. So how do you think technology can help you in terms of outreach, marketing, communications to get those people to do the hard things that you have to do at a site or at the shelter? Another question is, how are you using technology right now to accomplish those things?
Yeah, I think that the way, I'm a technology guy. Like I love technology. I use it in so many ways. I think probably the biggest way, and this is, maybe not directly related, but to me it's related. And we have this website. We got this guy, Kat Okada, who just does beautiful work. And I'm really into making videos. I feel like 1 to 4 minute videos can be very powerful. And maybe in my other life I was supposed to do marketing or something. But if you go to our website at taskacares.org, you can click on a couple of the videos that I made. Actually, the first video I made for this it's called the Itasca Widow, and it's about her. We weren't sure, how comfortable she was with revealing who she was and stuff in town at the time. But
was this the same person that you were talking about earlier?
I was talking about earlier. That was the first video. And so I would take that video around with me and basically would show her driveway and her house and to try and get people to donate towards it. I actually never really finished that story, but the whole thing was that she told her story at this food pantry because, they were like, oh, you need food, what's your story? She had lost her husband, been without a husband for 2 years, was trying to figure things out, and was now at the point of where, for her to keep her house, she was going to have to refinance. She could kind of handle that if the refinance went through. The insurance company, though, was not going to give her homeowner's insurance unless she fixed her driveway. Because her driveway was kind of a mess. And thankfully, they kind of looked at the driveway, probably stopped there, and were like, well, that's, she's not going to be able to do that. So thankfully, they didn't go in the house, because the house
was bad, right?
Much scarier than the driveway. So we jumped in, we're like, okay, driveway. And this was also from getting consultation from some of the pastors, like, how do we even go about this? Are we crazy? And he's like, well, you get a specific thing, and people will donate towards a specific thing if the outcome is going to be, that the orphaned child and the widow get to keep their house. That's like, you're tugging on the correct heartstrings there. So we got an assessment. Actually, somebody with the village here helped us get an evaluation of the driveway and a lowballed it. Somebody, he could get to give us a good product, lowest price. It was going to be $4,200 to replace the driveway. So now we had a specific number and a target. Started bringing the video around started at churches. Then I went to Lions Club. I went to some other organizations, and there was a lot of pushback at first because, this is a brand new concept. I'm like, wait, who are you again? Thankfully, a couple of people just knew me, or because my wife's a PE teacher in town.
Got it.
That's how I'm actually famous. Husband
of the PE teacher.
Everybody knows her and loves her. So it's sweet. But in the end, again, I think it's a real God thing, because we were at a point where to help her out, it had to be done by a certain point. We went ahead with it when we didn't have all the money yet, and then almost double the money came in.
Wow.
In the 11th hour. then we were able to like move in the house and do some stuff with the house. And
Yeah.
then you start to have like, you know, some of the cool quiet stories of a guy coming in and like doing some stuff, and then it's like, yeah, just, you know, we'll just write that off, you know. Does a bunch of services for free. And
Very
you can
cool.
pay $40, you know, for like $2,000 at work.
Wow.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, you start to get this really powerful, good feeling about your community, you know, when you can see that stuff. There was actually one of those classic days where a bunch of guys came out and we replaced the fascia and gutters. She had no gutters. We replaced the fascia and put up new gutters around the whole house. And there's a bunch of guys. My son's volleyball team, Lake Park High School's volleyball team at the time. And then sweet baby Ray brought us free food.
Gotta love that.
Perfect day, man.
Yeah. So is the Itasca widow homeless still?
No, she kept her home.
Wow.
She was able to, kind of cool things started to happen. And this is the other part of all these beautiful stories is, you know, I was saying earlier about entitlement versus empowerment. You know, she was obviously pretty depressed.
Yeah.
You know, she had a part-time job, and part of it was because she wanted to stay more with the child more, and part of it was just really hard for her to get motivated to work and stuff. She ended up getting a school job, a full-time school job, and so it enabled her to have the exact same schedule as her daughter. They were able to start saving some money, and yeah, I mean, she's totally on her own, and this is the beauty, and this is where we really, really hope for, and kind of got it right away in our first model situation, and she volunteers with us at the shelter.
No, so she's a volunteer now.
She's a volunteer. And
What?
actually, most of the ICOP people that we've helped volunteer in some way now.
Get out of here. That's beautiful. Really is.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and that, you know, what a beautiful case study for empowerment versus entitlement. Do you see a lot of entitlement in your day-to-day working as, you know, with ICOP?
Well, I mean, my day-to-day job is as a school social worker, so yes.
A little bit different of a population there, yeah.
Sort of, but no, the school I happen to work at, the school district, is over 50% lower income. And you wouldn't think so. You know, it's a DuPage County suburb high school, but, you know, that's just kind of happening more. Kind of, you know, it hit when the market fell, you know, like in 07-ish.
Sure.
You know, you had a lot of middle-class people suddenly losing their homes and jobs, and all of a sudden they kind of fell down in an area they hadn't been in before. It's almost like you're saying your experience was hanging around talking with the homeless people.
Yeah.
You know, they're just regular people, and then multiple things happen at once, and, you know, you always hear these finance people talking, you should have for so many months, you know, you have up to a year, and that's like, well, that's kind of, you know, a white-collar job, or you busted in your blue-collar job.
Yeah.
Money to have that.
That's interesting. Your experiences. You're doing this, coordination, effort for the homeless shelter. You're also a school social worker, and you also do a couple of other things too. You're a busy guy, and you do private practice, right?
Yeah, I do a couple of nights a week where I see clients because I'm a licensed clinician. So
You have your LCPC?
LCSW.
LCSW.
Kind of the same thing, but the social work realm of that.
My wife's getting her, she's going to take the test for the LCPC on Tuesday.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we've had to study like every single night. We're bringing out the flashcards every night, so hopefully she gets it.
Is it?
Good luck, Gina.
Is it using the DSM-5?
DSM-5. And she was in grad school during DSM-4.
Right.
So there's been a little bit of a difference. Actually, there's been huge differences between them.
There really are.
So she's trying to relearn the whole DSM.
Yeah.
So it's been challenging, but she's going to nail
Just
it.
for your listeners, Diagnostic Statistics Manual.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
use to diagnose people with mental health
Yeah, which is, if you've noticed 4 and 5, it's constantly changing. So, and that really is the tool that that psychiatrists and psychologists use, and counselors and social workers and therapists use to diagnose people. And the way that it changes makes a huge impact on societal perspectives of mental illness and behavioral illnesses as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, I think autism is off of DSM-5, right? It's part of a different disorder now, or
What's out is what was it called?
Asperger's?
Asperger's.
Yes.
No longer terminology from the DSM. It's autism spectrum disorder, ASD.
Oh, right. Sorry about that.
So
Yeah.
you're on the spectrum of autism.
You're on the spectrum of autism.
Interestingly, ran into my first case of someone who didn't quite meet that criteria, but in the old days would have met the Asperger's criteria. There is something called pragmatic communication disorder.
Pragmatic social communication disorder. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Pragmatic, I think, is in parentheses.
Yeah.
So it's like social communication disorder.
Dude, I'm learning about this through my wife. Right, it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. And that is the equivalent then, or
that's the sense of getting.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny because I do a ton of work with students with autism. In my go figure, I'm doing some innovative stuff in our school with our speech pathologist.
Yeah.
We co-lead a group of about 25 kids who are at various levels on the spectrum, and we try and do like real life social skills work with them. So we have kids that are just like, some kids have AP and honors classes. Some kids are more struggling, that are on the spectrum, but they all kind of run into some of the same issues.
What are the same issues?
Like, and there's a certain stereotype to it, but some of the stereotypes are
true.
Actually true in terms of eligibility criteria for autism, and that is that someone who can perseverate on something that they really like to talk about, like some details about Star Wars and the stormtroopers' outfits, how it's changed, and so
which is very cool. Just to let you know, I find that highly interesting.
But like she has this great stuff, like 2-comment rule.
The 2-comment rule.
The 2-comment rule. So if you say 2 things about something and no one kind of asks you more about it or seems to respond, then that's it. That's all you say about that. Now, if you're someone that doesn't know how to read people and social cues and things like that, that's huge. You just kind of memorize that. They're really great at memorizing stuff. And like they say there are 2 comments about stormtrooper gear.
And that's it. Yeah.
Picks up or responds or asks more questions.
We should have her at the staff meetings. Wow. You said you're doing some pretty innovative things with her, with those.
There's a lot of social workers and speech pathologists co-leading groups. It doesn't sound real groundbreaking, but
yeah,
because I created, this concept of we're in this room, there's a bunch of round tables and kids, sit with each other in various groupings. She came up with this club that students do too, called Social Network, and I run it now. It's like an after-school club because it's interesting. Technology and ethics and communication and autism, and so you have all these kids in there. They all have a bunch of technology, and they're all at various levels of socialization that they want or need, or we're all social beings. But then you look at students with autism, and you're like, they like certain amount of socializing creates some anxiety for them. So they have video games, that they have put in their phones, and they have these little games, and happy as clams, doing this stuff. So, but we find though that kind of on the same continuum, they have a need and desire for socialization. So, kids will start to walk over to another kid, hey, what are you playing? And then they're socializing. That they're socializing around ironically technology. It's a huge intervention that schools in general are kind of frowning on. Yeah. And obviously you want these kids are in classes and you want them attending to the task at hand, but it can be a great break for them. And, so we were talking earlier, and I was talking about the world of school social work and social skills. Yeah. A lot of people are bad-mouthing technology that because of video games and, and the group online games that involve headsets. I kind of feel like that's a great example of socializing continuing, and there's talking going on, but minus the face-to-face. Yeah. You're interacting together or against each other in, this virtual teen world. And so it gets confusing, for me, for other adults. Part of it, I think, is we didn't grow up with it. I really think that's honestly a big part of it.
And it's kind of a change culture thing, and certain people may be adverse to that type of change too. And there's some negatives too when it comes to massively multiplayer online games, Halo, Call of Duty, or whatever, World of Warcraft, right? Because you don't have the face-to-face, it's kind of breeds a sense of you're anonymous, so all the bad things that you want to say about the other person, it just kind of comes out, right? Well,
speaking from experience?
No, not me. No, not at all. But when I was younger, of course, right? Of course. When you're 13 and when you're 14 and you're online and you have that factor of anonymity, you don't care if the other person on the other line, on the other side of the computer, is being called a bad name. You don't get to see that other person. You don't get to see their facial reactions to that bad word that you used or the insult that you threw at them. There's challenges that we have to kind of come up with, and there's values and societal mores that we have to craft around these new technologies and these new devices. But I think there's a lot of positives to it, right? We're having lots of interactions with lots of different people. We're, my generation and the new generation, which I don't even know what they're called, the homeland generation or whatever. Yeah, that's a weird word, right? I was at a conference at Peoria, and the keynote speaker called them the homeland generation.
Is they trying to coin a phrase, or is that a thing?
That's a thing, I guess. And the idea is that because of Homeland, this is the generation that has always grown up post 9/11 or during 9/11 and during a sense of continuous war. And anyways, the idea though is that we're talking to more people online than any other generation has ever before.
Right.
And that is profound. That has profound societal implications, I think. And I think it makes us hugely more acculturated to diversity as well. And it kind of breaks down a lot of the barriers of xenophobia, homophobia, misogyny. So I think it has those positive benefits, but
because of the anonymity factor?
No, because of the fact that we're just talking to so many people.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
the flat Earth concept.
The flat Earth concept, right? So I'm on Call of Duty, as a teenager, as a 13-year-old, when my mind is still being, melded and shaped by my peers. And I'm talking to a Japanese Call of Duty addict. I'm talking to a Russian, Call of Duty addict. I'm talking to a gay guy from Brazil. I'm talking to, a trans person from Connecticut. And I get to see that all these types of people, right, like the same things that I like. They like, blowing people's heads off on Call of Duty. So I think it has positive benefits, but there's some dangers to it as well. Sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox right now.
I'm intrigued by that because there's a guy, I cannot think of his name right now, but he wrote a book called On Killing. He wrote a book called On Combat. Psychologist who...
I'll link to it at the end of the article that I'll read. So.
Oh, okay. And he wrote this other book that basically talks about all the Columbine and post-Columbine school shootings, and almost saying, not the opposite, but saying this anonymity. Well, you kind of talking about that a little bit, this anonymity thing and killing people. But the other part of it, and I guess this is where it becomes problematic, is if kids are overly isolated, and on top of it, and I don't want to burden schools, especially since I work at a school with, making sure every kid is connected. Even though I feel like that's a big part of my job, is I try and make sure nobody's isolated, everybody's connected.
Well, that's the after-school program itself, right? It's a social network, right?
Absolutely. But this isolationist idea, and that the only way you're interacting with people is blowing up and killing them, and it's not real. And back in the day, it was less realistic. It's interesting as it becomes more and more realistic, because that's kind of the goal. I mean, I think with
the emergent technology of virtual reality, it's going to become even more immersive.
Right. It's funny, we were talking about Brainstorm before this, and that was kind of like the extreme version. We're not even there yet. Now, some 80s movie.
Yeah.
But if you can like record someone else's experience, I mean, it then becomes this huge ethical question.
Yeah.
Yeah. You read like in the Wall-E movie, and it's like it's gonna like not even interact directly anymore. These giant
and floating chairs, not doing anything all day. Well, listen, like with new technology, with new emergent technology, superhuman AI, virtual reality, autonomous cars, whatever it may be, right? Society has to keep up with its ethics around those ideas and those new technologies that people are using. And I don't think we're there yet, with the technologies that we already have. So with the new technologies that are coming in waves, by the way, in the next 5-10 years, it's going to be a challenge for our leaders in school, right? And our parents, and I think all of us, to kind of like reconcile how we're going to be ethically, philosophically, morally, spiritually with these new devices, governing and interfacing with our lives in a more and more impactful way.
Well, and like this weekend, I work a lot with the military, and there's a huge piece going on with technology right now. I mean, even as we speak.
Eric, can you kind of tell us what you do with the military? Because I think you left that out.
Yeah. So I used to be what's called a military and family life counselor. It was kind of a gig related to me having my LCSW, and I would go to what's called Yellow Ribbon Reintegration events, and they were specifically targeting Guard and reservists that make up and have made up the largest number of people deploying over to predominantly Iraq and Afghanistan, but lots of other conflicts overseas, get deployed for anywhere from 4 months to like 18 months. And the problems that we're seeing, where people are coming back, not really reintegrating in a healthy way, and we still see to this day suicides through the roof, homicides, and
domestic abuse,
divorce, kids issues and stuff. So the program was designed around that. Well, as we started to do more and more of these Yellow Ribbon programs, we were finding that it's great, you have all this different stuff there, but when you have somebody go through a deployment or even before a deployment, and they're kind of focused on all that, and you throw them in this event, and if the event isn't reach people in a way, like as we learned in education, like you have to work at engaging people and speaking at their level and all these things. So
are you talking about where for you to reach out to them?
So the way the program is set up is like they go to classes kind of to try and cover, because you can't meet with everybody one-to-one. Right. Some of the first end stuff that I did was like I went to Fort Riley base for a month when I first started doing this with 20 other counselors, and the 30,000 troops that went to Iraq long ago, it's called the Surge. They all returned at the same time to Fort Riley. Now, these were active duty people, but now all of a sudden you got 30,000 people that have been gone for 12 to 18 months back in the civilian world.
And have experienced some pretty heavy combat.
Well, that was the front end of the Iraq war. So you had people who were trained as a cook that were thrown in a Humvee that was not armored, and they were knocking on doors trying to find Taliban and weapons of mass destruction. So it was crazy stuff over there. So I'm talking to these 19-year-olds that were thrust into this that, were kind of a mess. And so probably that front end stuff needed to be one-on-one 20-minute or more counseling sessions to check in with people and, see where they're at to, fast forward to where we're at today. And, these events still go on trying to prepare people for deploying. But we realize the model now has to be very focused on engaging people and covering the key issues, letting them know all the supports that are available to get to intervene with people before, kind of looking at, all I got left is suicide.
Wow, man, that's incredible. That has to be really hard. So you do speaking engagements then?
Yeah, so I'm a speaker. But interestingly, I bring my cell phone, and as I begin speaking and introduce myself, I put my cell phone number up as one of my slides. And I encourage people to text me live as I present.
Oh, cool. And
they kind of engages, those people in the back of the room that are with their phones under the table playing the game. And they're like, oh, what? And of course, I get a lot of inappropriate pictures. They're hilarious. I'll show them to you later. But they are, I actually got a great one today. But it's really panned out. I mean,
you're a brave man.
People think I'm like, oh, that is so high tech. And it's like, it's taxed, you know. Like,
It's
that's
taxed.
the sad part of it. Like, it's so
It's been since the 90s, bro.
technology, and yet, you know. Oh.
Yeah, wow. So I was just talking to a nonprofit scholar, Dr. Alicia Shadman, before this podcast, and she was kind of talking about the differences between outputs versus outcomes. And she shared with me this one story about this case study for a battered woman's nonprofit, right? So these women who were victims of domestic spousal abuse and violence were going to these workshops at this nonprofit, and these workshops were empowering them, right? You don't have to to put up with your husband's violence, and you could just like go out and you have to respect yourself, right? And every year they would do this like annual report, and it would say, last year we had 20 different workshops. Now we have 50 workshops. Last year we had 100, battered women. Now we have 300 battered women. And so finally, with some grants like initiative, it was requiring them, rather than to report the outputs, the outcomes. And the outcomes that they wanted to see is, what was the level of domestic violence in the community over the last 5 years? And it was increasing over the last 5 years. And
I'm wondering if it's increasing or decreasing.
It was increasing. And she asked me, and Dr. Shadman asked me, like, why do you think that is? I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, the reason is, once you empower someone like that, a woman, to go back into a violent household, and she starts to not take that person's violence or whatever, the violence is just going to double. And that's exactly what happened. These people that got this type of education felt empowered, and guess what happened? Their husbands just slapped and beat them even more. Incredible, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways,
Is there a happy ending at any point?
So the message is, you have to really to focus on the outcomes rather than the outputs. So if they were to, under the first or the second year, have realized that violence is going up, then changing the messaging within the workshops would have been more of a priority rather than on year 6.
Yeah.
So
where they're just increasing the classes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not saying that this is happening with you at all, but
right.
What is the challenge though for you talking to these? Are they like 19, 20, 21 year olds?
So that was the front end.
Yeah.
What we have now is more of a reality. It's kind of a weird reality. So overall in the military right now, anywhere from, I don't know if this number's right, but 30%-ish to 50%, and I know the 50% is an accurate number, of the people committing suicide aren't even in the deployment circuit. They're not
Really.
So there's so many different hypotheses you can throw out there, but one might be there's just a lot more people going in the military as an option.
Yeah.
Economics, or wanting to be patriotic, or whatever is the reason. But maybe the military's letting too many more people in that in the old days might have been pre-screened. People coming in with issues, I guess.
Wouldn't pass a psych test or something,
yeah,
right?
Whatever. So, more picky when we're not in conflicts, less picky, when we're not, kind of deal.
And also the recruiter part of that too.
Yeah,
the
recruiters
recruiters,
got some pressure to come up with numbers.
They have pressure, they have incentives, right? So.
Yeah, but I don't want. I just throwing that out there,
sure.
But there is this reality of deployments look so much different. Because when we first started doing this, the deployments used to be, pretty hardcore combat oriented. You're talking front end of Afghanistan, front end of Iraq, and they had what they would call FOBs, forward operating bases, and they were just a bunch of really big tents and smaller tents. Then they started to throw some concrete down, giant tents, and then you come fast forward today. I was just talking with some people today, and they said, they were actually deployed in 2004, deployed again in 2011, and now just got back from a deployment, and all were around Kuwait. And now in Kuwait, they have a full-blown base there. You're talking full concrete, regular buildings, running water, internet, everything. So, the whole outlook is completely different. And then, if we're going to talk about technology, technology has played a part. Technology's played a part in this where, back when we first went in there, it was just people and stuff, weaponry and all that. But now, we're looking at overseas is these forward operating bases that are fully operational and full-blown technology there.
Along with Burger Kings and Starbucks.
Yeah.
All that stuff too.
And somebody was saying today that like now you don't even see people in military uniform past 5 o'clock. Where before it used to be around the clock.
Yeah.
Now people, it's just civilians, it's consultants,
Right.
contractors.
Yeah, contractors.
That's an interesting thing because it's a different conversation. But so some of this other work I do is subcontract work, and I feel like that is directly connected to technology. That the ease and access of information in real time, almost beating real time sometimes in a bizarre way, and maybe economically motivated, but you can cover a lot of things through subcontractors doing the work instead of maybe a whole military unit or
right. Well, I mean, it might be a good sign too that we're seeing this change as we're withdrawing from some of these conflicts. But this isn't a political podcast, so we won't get into that.
I love me some military too. So.
Well, I think just like talking to you, so far you're doing the homeless shelter thing. You're the school, social worker. You're doing private consulting and private practice, and you're also doing this military Yellow Ribbon Program as well. Where do you and how do you find the time to do all these things?
So. I don't know the guy, not trying to endorse him, but I stumbled onto this guy, Rory Baden. And he's got, you go to his website and you get a daily blog from him. He calls it blog. I don't know, he calls it blog, but it's like connects you to different articles. Anyway, he just rocked me. I heard him talking one time, and he wrote a book called Take the Stairs. And he considers himself, and he accurately so, he's a self-discipline guru, he said. And I think he's right. It kind of comes down to, it's not so much quantity. He uses this terminology, multipliers, with your time. It's like time is finite, but then he throws in this premise of multiplying.
Sounds like Tim Ferriss.
And I don't think any of this is new.
Interesting, yeah.
Because and his daily blogs a lot of times are links to other people because he's like, I met some really, amazing people that, and at the core of it being, if you focus on, people you love, loving people, meaning, now I'm spilling into my own beliefs or whatever, but you have that core. I don't know, like, I watch a ton of Netflix. I waste a ton of time. Sometimes I wonder, like, how do I do anything? Here I am laying around for the third hour of Kindness Diaries.
Which I'll also link at the bottom of the page. Yeah.
Oh, so funny thing about the Kindness Diaries. So, I watched the whole series. I'm like, man, it's awesome. So I started doing some research, find the guy online. He's got a website, and it's like, they always have a contact or whatever. And it's the usual, you put your name, email, or whatever. And I just typed him in a real heartfelt message, I was like, I don't know who gets the message. I don't know if it's actually him or not, but I think it might have been actually him because he responded back. And it's kind of seemed his wording, or, these people working for him that use his kind of wording. And it was like, oh, it's so cool hearing from you, so, like, my response was really heartfelt. He's like, I'm going to send you one of my books. And like, oh, that was so cool.
You got a free book?
Yes, I got a free book.
Nice.
So of course it's sweet already. So I responded back, hey, thank you. And I threw a little bit more out there about, some of the stuff going on at my school. Mm-hmm. And then he responds back and he's like, oh, awesome. I do some speaking, whatever. So now I'm like talking to different people at my school. They're all watching the series. We have different community service groups
nice.
At Addison Trail and Willowbrook High School where I work. And they're all watching the series, which is really cool. And then we were thinking about this event and thinking about having, maybe if we could pay for this guy to come out there, and it's like, talk about, technology links.
Yeah.
And, is it wasting time to sit around? You and I are movie buffs, so we never think that's a waste of time to sit there
never.
for 2 or 3 hours. And I forgot to bring you the Kurosawa DVDs.
Not the Kurosawa DVDs, man. Next time, next podcast. So, okay, you were talking about this guy, Rory
Vaden. Anyway, sorry.
Rory Vaden.
And so, his thing is two things. One is self-discipline, but the other was that he said, and I'm going to get the quote wrong, but something along the effect of, if you shoot for goals that you can achieve, then all you'll ever be is mediocre. Period. I'm like, ooh, like that's like such a gut shot, Because I was like, well, normally we think of like, let's go for a goal that you can achieve, like a little bit out of your, this is like, no, and it's a faith thing too, I think. This is where I involve God. You think about whether or not you think Noah was real or not, but this idea that if you set out for an impossible task, and in my faith world, and it's God ordained, something God wants you to do, part of his plan, part of your path.
Yeah.
Then it almost has to be impossible to complete on your own for there to be room for God to come in and do a miracle.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I did, one of the coolest things, and I actually got a really cool award. I got an award from the Chicago Bears. I got to go to a Bears game.
What?
Thing I did at my school. I saw a musical at my church that they did. It was all special needs kids in a musical. And I was like, that is awesome. First thing I thought of was like, we have a really beautiful climate, loving climate, I feel like, in my high school. Well, in place, high school, like, I consider it loving there. And I was like, I bet you could pull this off in my school. And I was like, wow, that's a crazy thought. My daughter, who's with me, leans over to me and she goes, I can't even tell which are the special needs kids. And for whatever reason, it was something about her saying that line. I was like, I gotta do it. So this group called the Penguin Project helped our church put it on. I contacted them, was trying to have them come alongside me. They were going to, and my school said, no, we're not gonna have an outside group. And push comes to shove. I basically got 2 high school students to help me. I had 25 students that were with special needs. Most of them different levels of autism or intellectual disabilities.
Did Penguin Project help or?
Well, they were willing to, but my school said they didn't want.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Like, we can get you some help, and I threw out the feelers, but that's a big thing to tell people, because I was doing it in the spring and then mostly the summer to knock it out at the beginning of the school year. So anyway, and this is actually a cool technology thing, and I would love to plant this seed in other people's minds that work with a special needs crowd, population. So I had this problem, I thought. In the musical I saw, they had all memorized the lines as best they could, but they had a shadow up there with them. It was a physical other person that in case they felt uncomfortable or lost the line, and they were like in dress, they were like wearing black or something. They were in garb that was fit the musical, and they could tell them a line or whatever, just make them feel more comfortable. Well, I didn't have the ability to. I didn't have enough kids. I only had 2 volunteer high school students, a couple other tricklers.
Oh my God! Did you have headsets?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not that cool.
Teleprompter?
No. But what I did was, all of the songs, they're just sort of easy to remember songs. We did High School Musical Junior, so like everybody knew the songs already, kind of.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we had all these spoken lines. So what I did was I videotaped all the spoken parts. And sometimes I would just have one kid say their line. Maybe we'd even have both the kids there that were in a scene together. And then I edited it all together. So it was like half movie and half live musical. And so when they put on the musical live for our student body and then for the community, I had the screen down. So they did everything up on stage there except the parts that were spoken. And then what was really cool was they would sit and turn and face up at the screen, and then you would see, people that were live there act out parts of the screen.
Wow, very
then
cool.
I had subtitles, so because some of the kids were hard to understand.
Yeah.
And then when they were doing the songs, I put the lyrics up on the screen, and it was a sing-along for the crowd.
Very nice.
It was so awesome and amazing of an experience. And again, I don't say this enough, but I really give God the glory, because it was kind of an impossible task. There's no way on paper, a guy and 2 students can do a musical with 25 special needs.
So for the audience, Eric just pounded the table and
Yeah,
is
we're doing
bursting with enthusiasm right now. Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I got to go to this
Yeah.
Bears game. It's called the Classroom Hero.
Yeah.
Symmetra is the company. And I got to go to this Bears game. It was sweet. Like, my face was up on the screen for a second. It was really weird. Some kid came and he's like, "Were you at the Bears game? Was your face up on the screen?"
No
for a second?"
way.
I was like, "Yeah, that was me, man."
Well, you have definitely an interesting career, and your trajectory has been unique. And where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? Do you think about that at all, or do you have any conceptions? Or
Well, I started doing private practice because I thought this speaking thing was going to lessen. It's kind of increased. So, I kind of guessed wrong, and then I'm in multiple things. But like I was talking with you before this, I really want to get something written, and I would love to speak about that because a lot of the professional speaking that I do is kind of from a Department of Defense library, and I can spice it up, in how I present it.
but they give you the templates.
Yeah, I have templates to work from, and it's not that I don't believe in them, but it's like it's nothing like, and I don't know if somebody's going to want to read this or hear it, but really I want to write about and speak about serving and depthful serving, and I don't want to just sit here and always, sound like a curmudgeon about, they weren't serving the right way or the right heart volunteering.
They're not serving the right way.
Just shut up and take your volunteers,
Yeah, do your overnight shift.
But what you were saying was, you having that experience, I think it had to do with your level of investment. And I come up with these 3 steps, and it's first considering, just you got to consider another being other than your own self and needs. Then you got to take a series of actions. It can't be singular. It's got to be a series of actions. And then the biggie, and that's kind of the core, I think, of ICOT and the difference between, how do you click that entitlement, empowerment thing? Well, I think you got to have a relationship with people. You got to come alongside. You got to be, and this is the part I saw happen, which was disturbing, and it probably happens to me to a certain degree. And people were had resistance to the relationship thing, especially if they started to get a sense that this person might end up doing better than them.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I was like, ooh, that's, I remember one thing came up and we're talking about, so she has this new driveway, and, kind of tears up your yard a little bit.
Yeah.
And just somebody came up with a nice thing. Wouldn't it be nice if we, put some dirt in and put some flowers or did some sod there? And there were some people poo-pooing it. It's like, well, I don't even have that in my driveway.
Oh, wow. That...
Did we forget her husband got killed?
What is that?
It's us, our humanness, I guess.
Yeah.
That ugly dark side of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So anyway, right now, that's, and interestingly, the acronym is CARE for what I just talked about. That's going to be my, my
so it's considering, or consideration.
Consideration of another human being.
And then it's A is
actions. And then R
is relationships.
Small E is relationships. Or big E, empowerment, is kind of the ultimate goal.
And then
so you
E
can't
is
do that, you just
empowerment,
kind of
yeah.
hope that happens.
Right.
Wow.
Now, I did kind of want to talk about the overnight that I did with you. We also did with another person. His name's Abdul. And Abdul, if you're listening, man, I love you. You're the coolest.
I love me some Abdul too. Man.
Yeah, you're the coolest. And he's a Muslim. He's a devout, somewhat traditionalist Muslim from Saudi Arabia, my age, and he kind of grew up with I don't know, we have we led parallel existences without even knowing it. And the more I talked to him that night, I'm ashamed of saying this, but I had never had an in-depth conversation for more than 20 minutes with a Muslim.
Yeah.
Right? And
nor I. I mean, I'm like Mr. Christian Pants over here.
Yeah.
And he's my intern. That's the whole relationship. I'm
Right.
telling you, it was such a powerful. I love that we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just for Facebook that I can say, hey, I'm friends with the Muslim.
I'm friends with the Muslim, right? Look at me, everyone.
I serve at the shelter.
Peacock. Peacock.
Oh my gosh.
No, but
He's cool. He's such a cool guy.
Well, it was like I had the experience too with the homeless people, like, oh my God, they're just normal people. They're just like you and me.
Yeah.
And the more I talked to Abdul, it was like, oh my God, he gets the same cultural references that I do.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but but
some idioms are lost with him.
yeah. But like he talks like you and me, right?
He does.
He has the same like body language that you and me, and it has been on like a spiritual path, just like you and me, maybe less so than me, but it was interesting because like you, me, and Abdul, we've all come from different perspectives in terms of faith, right?
Yeah.
So like you're a Christian, he's a Muslim, I'm an atheist, so it's like we all.
Atheist? I thought you were agnostic.
Well, I kind of go back and forth, but
Agnatheist?
I'm an agnatheist, right. I could write a paper about it if you want, but for shorthand though, I do, I guess, consider myself I'm an atheist. But anyways, Besides the point, we all came together for like a central purpose, right? And it didn't have anything to do with faith, I think. It had everything to do with like wanting to help someone else other than yourself. It had everything to do with service.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I love it. It's funny as I've mentioned it to other people because that night did rock me too in a great way. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Wait, is this the start to a joke?"
Yeah.
the setup to an old.
Yeah, we all need. We just needed someone from the Jewish faith. And,
the guy I was talking about, he's a PhD in psychology, and he's a Jewish guy.
There you go.
You'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's another word other than beautiful and love comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm at an I love you stage yet with you, but very easily say love him. But it's interesting because for me, in my relationship with him, he was my intern. Was my intern, and then I had an intern this year who was a female who was Muslim. But on the continuum of Muslimness, as far as practice goes,
she's a little more liberal.
Yeah, she doesn't wear the headdress.
Yeah,
she makes physical contact with males, and it's a million funny stories of how he doesn't make physical contact with females.
Right.
At the marrying age, I think is kind of the model.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a powerful journey I've been on because I'm interviewing somebody as an intern for next year, and who's Jordanian and is Christian.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's just it's just eye opening. And a lot of it too. I was embarrassed to say that like I kept. When I was interviewing him, I would reference, Middle Eastern, and finally, thankfully, he corrected me. He's like, I'm actually South Asian, and we're not all Middle Eastern, and we kind of don't like all being called Middle Eastern. I'm like, whoa.
He said that too to me, because I kept on saying Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you are from Saudi Arabia. I thought that was the Middle East. But no, he's like, no, South Asian. So
yeah. Well, and he's actually born in Pakistan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right.
My bad, Abdul.
Nobody grew up in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. He's originally from Pakistan, which is technically part of the South Asian continent.
Right.
So.
And, I'm Hispanic, and my mom's from Ecuador, and you mess up any get the wrong country. There's a couple other countries that are okay, but
right.
One of the wrong ones, and it's like you just slapped her in the face. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I guess I just want to say that it's like. You've been bringing up God in your faith a lot, and I guess what I'm trying to say is like it doesn't require that though, I think that's your motivator, and it's not my motivator. I don't know what my motivator is. Like, I think I'm still trying to come to terms with that, like, because I've always community service oriented,
but like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like loving people.
That's 100% it. That's 100% it. I've always been team
You're
human.
Half Christian, man.
Well, I've always been team human. You know what I mean? I do have faith in the humanity of people. And I don't know if that's through the reading of literature or watching Akira Kurosawa.
Series, man.
Oh, the Kindness Diaries.
Totally on this idea that like He can make it across the world literally just on the kindness of strangers.
That is, very
That's
interesting.
like you in that series, Brian.
Well, listen, we're basically babbling at this point. So at the very end of podcasts, I kind of like to do this like Lonely Island exercise. So Erik Engel gets stranded on a lonely island all by himself, and he only has a couple of different items that he could bring with him. So, and I know you're not a reader, but what would be the only book that you could bring to that island?
Sounds easy.
Mhm.
Bible.
You'd bring the Bible.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, nice. Any particular book of the Bible? Harder question.
Yeah.
New Testament?
New Testament.
Mark.
No, probably James. James.
James. Okay, cool. Movie. The one movie that you would bring, which is probably very difficult.
No, I always one rises to the surface, and I
Really?
watch it at least once a year. And
Yeah.
I do rewatch it. That's the Seven Samurai.
What a fantastic film.
I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think a perfect movie could have ever been made. I think that's it. And a million people disagree with me, but
Mhm.
oh my god. And maybe as a guy, I do think it's a guy.
It's a guy movie. Yeah.
But I don't know. Women can relate, right? I don't know.
Of course. Of course.
Of
Of course. The one album or the one like artist,
Music.
musical artist or musical album.
I went through the stage where I really fell in love with David Byrne from the Talking Heads.
Oh yeah.
He did
Okay.
a weird solo career.
Mhm.
He actually wrote a symphony once for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra with a bunch of weird instruments, and I went and saw it.
Wow.
He's this artist / musician.
Yeah.
And when I was in my very artsy, stage. But since then, I hope this doesn't sound lame to you, but I used to hate Christian music, and I stinking love some of it now.
Okay, give me a band or give me an album that I can link to.
Newsboys.
Newsboys.
God's Not Dead.
God's Not Dead. All right, cool. I've never linked to a Christian album or Christian song on my website before, but there's a first for everything, man. There's a first for everything.
He just links to Christian music.
And if you could say that you could fit a website in your back pocket, what would be the one website that you would bring to?
Like not like Itasca Cares. You mean like somebody else?
Yeah, just like one website that you can't live without or something like that. Good question, I know.
Is Netflix a website?
It is a website. Oh
Netflix.
my god!
I'm
Yeah.
thinking Netflix, man.
All right, and then one app that you would bring. One app, and you can't say Netflix again.
No, I'm gonna call it the right name. It's semi-lame, but I gotta show you this picture later. Ticket to Ride.
A Ticket to Ride.
This is a weird train game.
It's a train game. Oh, so it's a game. It's
No, I take that back. Sorry, just stumbled across this. What am I thinking?
I'm linking Ticket to Ride.
Actually, Ticket to Ride is awesome, but it's not so much a specific one. But like iMovie.
iMovie.
What am I thinking?
Nice,
Yeah,
nice,
on
nice.
an island, all I would probably do other than foraging for food is make a movie.
Making movies. That sounds really fun, actually.
Yeah.
I bet you can make some cool movies.
I just want to go make a movie.
All right, Erik. Your last piece of advice or anything that you want to say for the closer here to the audience. Advice, call to action, whatever you want.
So, like you were just saying a little while ago, your motivator is loving people.
Sure. Yeah.
Everybody's familiar with, whether you've read it in the Bible or not, or just know of it, but the Good Samaritan.
Mm.
A lot of people that know the Good Samaritan generally don't realize that there was this dude who was kind of challenging Jesus about, what's the law that gets you into heaven? And he was really not about law. He was here to tell people about direct relationship with him and God and all that. But his basic response to him was, well, what does the law say? And the guy's like, well, you will love and honor God with all your heart, soul, blah, blah. And he goes, and then love your neighbor as yourself. And then the guy tries to stump Jesus, and he goes, so who's your neighbor? And Jesus' response is the story of the Good Samaritan. That's who your neighbor is.
Got it.
So, for those people that are like you, atheist or agnostic or whatever, I think you're loving people is enough. I think it's sort of suggested. Now, a lot of people push back on me and say, no, you got to, accept Christ as your Savior. I'm not saying you don't, but I mean, Jesus picks this main character, Good Samaritan. They were hated at the time. They were religiously wrong compared to the Jews or whatever, and the religiously right people or righteous people in the story just walk by this wounded person on the road.
Oh, I see.
The suggestion even is, and this guy did this really cool detailed book about it, that this wounded person is most definitely someone who is not of the same religion, same ethnicity, same anything as this Samaritan who helped him, who just selflessly gave and then said, hey, here's some more money to the guy at the end, took care of him, took him, and went off of his own journey, whatever he was supposed to be doing or wherever he was going. But those other supposedly righteous people stayed on their path because they didn't want to be interrupted or whatever. So, I believe God puts people in front of us. So you may not believe God puts these people in your path, but, you don't got to go to Africa looking for necessarily people to help. Not that that's wrong. In a given day, there's going to be people put in your path, and you're just supposed to love them and help them. And I'm making it oversimplified, but I think it is sort of that simple.
Yeah.
Just there's people in front of you, help them.
Powerful, powerful words, Eric. I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast, man, and preaching compassion and love to all of us. I really enjoy everything that you do as a person. I think you're a very awesome human being, my friend. Thank you for all your work that you do for the homeless shelter. Thank you for all the work that you do for the Yellow Ribbon Project, and thanks for being a hero, man, for being a social worker at a school. That requires more kudos than I think a lot of things do, man. And where can people find you online? Where can people find Itasca Cares or ICOD?
Yeah, www.itascacares.org, and there's just one phone number all over the website, and it happens to be my cell phone. So any of the connections you want to make, as far as if you prefer talking to somebody, it's going to call me directly, and I will have a conversation with anybody and then direct them, because a lot of people are calling about, got some stuff I want to donate to the food pantry.
You want to drop the phone number?
So yeah, 630-200-3978. And there's also, it's a typical website, so you can go on there and, not that we prefer it, but if you want to make that level of commitment to contact us through the website, then you submit some more information about yourself, email, that kind of thing.
Very
and
good.
I hope people go there and just plunk around on the website. Like I said, I've thrown some movies in there that I made. There's a really beautiful story about this little baby. Oh my gosh. That one rocked me. That one was a true miracle. I don't care what you think about miracles. Miracles don't happen anymore. God don't exist, whatever. But man, God did a stinking miracle with this family, this baby.
Eric, you're an awesome guy. Thanks for coming on again. I'm going to have to invite you on later for sure, because I think we could probably have like a 5-hour conversation. All right, man. Thank you so much. Take care. I'll see you next time.
That was episode 5 of the Jake Lawrence Podcast with Erik Engel. You can learn more about Erik at jakelawrencepodcast.com, where I provided all the show notes, a little article on Erik, as well as all of his links. You can go to itascacares.org to learn more about the Itasca Community Outreach Team. For all the links, all the things that we said throughout the episode, I have all the show notes at the bottom of the article on jakelawrencepodcast.com. So, stay tuned till next time, guys. Take care. Bye.